Hey, what's up? It's Sharon, not Susan. Welcome to the Problematic Reviewer. This is a YouTube channel where I read, review, rant, and discuss about problematic books. As you may or may not know, there's a big push. Oh, you can see my pet rat in the background. That's Monica. So anyway, there's a big push, mostly on Twitter, from these YA book bloggers who pick apart certain books, label them as problematic, and harass authors, people who like to read them, even the publishers. So today I'm going to be discussing one that particularly pisses me the hell off. And it's the book Sad Perfect by Stephanie Elliot. I just read it this week. I don't have a beautiful book to show you because I read it on my trusty e-reader here. And I promptly deleted it because I'm running out of space. I had to have that many books on here. This whole thing with Stephanie really pisses me off because honestly she's like one of the kindest YA authors I've seen around. So the whole thing started with the same author, I'm not going to even say her name, the hell with her, she doesn't need publicity, who went after The Continent and Carved the Mark, both which were not racist or problematic, by the way. I read them both. So she went after Sad Perfect a while ago, saying that it was triggering to people with eating disorders and dangerous for teens to read, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, you had this whole Twitter manhunt after her. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. There was one person on Twitter who said they emailed her asking her to, like, push back the publication of her book because it was dangerous, you know? And, and ever since people found out she follows me on Twitter, it's been even worse, you know, and it's just really messed up, because she really, like I said, she honestly is one of the sweetest authors, you know. Just take a look at her Twitter page. I'm going to put the link down below. She organized book donations for, you know, kids with eating disorders and stuff like that. And she's just really sweet. She's always posting links to help kids with eating disorders. She actually goes out and helps teens. You know, unlike these people, the Twitter mob, I like to call them the SJW Twitter mob, they actually do things to help teenagers, okay? She's actually doing stuff to help teens, while you're all on Twitter and Goodreads whining about how your feelings got hurt over reading a freaking book, okay? I mean, honestly, you people are disgusting. I just could rant all day about how much it angers me. You know, it's just like, ugh. You know, she's actually doing something to help people. What are you doing? Oh, my feelings got hurt by your book because you didn't explain an eating disorder in the way I like it to be displayed. Boo-hoo. Yeah, okay. Seriously. I mean, and honestly, people, this is the kind of thing where common sense comes in. If you have an eating disorder and you're triggered by books and stuff like that are about eating disorders, don't read them. It's common freaking sense, people. Use it. Oh, God, it makes me so mad. Anyway, so on to the review. I read Sad Perfect this week. It took me about 2 or 3 days to read. I had trouble getting into it at first because it's written in the second point of view, which to me is really just unique, but hard to get into at first. I'm just not used to seeing that in fiction books. But after a while, I went on to appreciate it. So Sad Perfect is about this girl named P who suffers from AFRID. I have a handy little definition right here on my laptop. AFRID stands for Avoidant Restrictive Food Intake Disorder. I've never heard of this. It's a type of eating disorder, apparently. I never heard of it until I read this book. Never. It's something completely new to me. Apparently, people with... It's one of the new categories of eating disorders that has been introduced in the updated version of DSM-5. That's like the psychiatric Bible, basically. And some people with AFRID are sometimes called picky eaters. A person with AFRID has an eating disorder that does not fit into more traditional eating disorder categories. AFRID affects mostly people in childhood infancy, but also affects adults. Some of the common examples of AFRID are the person has trouble digesting specific types of food. Like, for example, in the book P, she only had, like, certain safe foods. She called them safe foods that she could eat. And anything else that she tried to eat or digest, particularly meat, it would make her sick to the point where she would throw up. Even sometimes watching, like, her dad eat meat at the dinner table would actually make her physically ill. The person only likes to eat small portions. Yeah, at some point. Yeah, there were a lot of points in the book where she would only, like, she loves waffles. Because that's one of her safe foods, anything with bread. So then she would eat small portions. And there were times when she'd forget to eat. So, Let's see. The person avoids particular types of textures or colors of food. I don't know if there was any colors. She definitely didn't like certain textures, meat, stuff like that. Yeah, so it was a pretty interesting book. Like I said, I never heard of it. P in particular, she was afraid of eating in social situations. You know, she was afraid of people judging her. So the book starts off, she meets this kid, Ben, at her friend's birthday party. And he's totally cute. You know, they went up going up on dates and stuff. I loved Ben, okay? He was so cute and sweet. He was like the perfect little YA guy, you know, just a sweetheart. You know, like he really sticks through P throughout the whole book and her ordeal and supports her and stuff. And I just thought he was a really sweet character, you know? So, yeah, anyway. So she has a lot of eating issues, but she also suffers from depression and anxiety. And that in particular I could really relate to. I've never had an eating disorder, but I've suffered from depression and anxiety myself. You know, I take medication now every day. Probably going to be taking it for the rest of my life. And it's a similar medication to what she takes in part of the book. So I could really relate to the aspects of her depression and anxiety. And, you know, a lot of it, she describes it as her monster in the book. And I could really relate to that, because sometimes I think of my depression as my monster. You know, and she would get very, like, irritable and kind of lash out at people. And if I'm not on my medication, I get like that too. I get very moody. So I could really relate to her. She's a very well-developed character. You know, and her family was as well. Particularly, I liked reading about a relationship with her brother. They were kind of estranged, you know. He's a little bit older. And he's got his own set of friends, and he thinks her whole eating thing is stupid. But he winds up coming around at the end and kind of supporting her and stuff, which is cool. So, yeah, definitely a good book. I would say that some of the cutting, I know people are complaining about the cover. Since I don't have the actual book, I'll just tell you it's white, and it has a safety pin on the cover. I guess people are saying it's triggering because it makes them want to cut. Like, really? There's sharp stuff all over the place in real life. I mean, how do you deal with seeing a safety pin when you're in, like, Office Max or something? I mean, seriously. What do you do when you go in the kitchen and you have to, like, make a salad and use a knife? Do you, like, freak out? You know? And, yeah, there's some kind of graphic cutting in the book, but the cover kind of warns you about that, people. Like, you shouldn't, it's the same thing with, like, the eating disorder thing. You need a trigger warning that it's going to trigger eating disorder. It's about eating disorders. It says right in the freaking summary. And the same thing goes for cutting. There's a freaking paperclip on the cover, okay? If you think this book is going to trigger you, don't read it. But you don't have to go around harassing the author and harassing the people who read a book. Ah! I know, I'm trying not to rant anymore, but it just really angers me. So, yes, I really enjoyed the book. It did take me a while to get it into the second person. You know, it's not really something you see in YA, but like I said, I did eventually go and appreciate it. You know, it was a unique way of writing the story, and I think Stephanie said on Twitter that's just how the story came to her. So I appreciate that she just, you know, wrote what she felt, you know. And she has a daughter who has Afrid, so all these people were hating on her, and she has a daughter who has a freaking, eating disorder. I know, I say freaking a lot, I'm from New York, okay? So, yeah, I give this book a 4 out of 5, you know. Like I said, I don't give a lot of 5s out. So it wasn't my most favorite book ever, but I would highly recommend it. I think to people, maybe if you have an eating disorder and you're triggered, don't read it. I mean, common sense. But if Afrid is something you'd be interested in learning about, I think you'll definitely learn a lot from this book. And I would highly suggest supporting Stephanie Elliot as an author, because she does a lot of good work for teens. And she's just a really sweet person in general. You know, stop supporting, you know, internet bullies who do nothing but complain on Twitter. And, you know, put your money behind somebody who actually helps teenagers in the real world, in real life. Alright, thanks guys. Thanks for watching. I'm out. Bye.